Now recording.
He's so fucking creepy sounding. Why a bear?
I don't know.
Bear dog, human bear dog?
Human, bear dog, human dog.
A bog.
A bog? That's slang for toilet.
A bog or a dare. Like deer with an accent.
And here's to the beginning.
I'll drink to that.
Why, Johnny Ringo.
Hello, I'm Johnny Cash.
I know exactly what I'm doing, and I can change it at any time.
I'm your huckleberry.
Outlaw loose and running came the whisper from each lip, and he's here to do some business with the big iron on his hip.
Incoming the Ramblin podcast with your hosts, Conway Titty and Stoney Robbins.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Ramblin podcast. I am your host, Stoney Robbins, joined by my co-host.
Conway Titty.
Okay, do you have to do that every time?
Conway
Can you just say normal like Conway?
and Titty dumb. Conway of the titties. Hi and hello. Back to you, Stoney.
We're on episode 20 of the Ramblin podcast. And last week we talked about Valentine's Day and how Big Candy and Big Diamond are cornerstoning the market to make you buy their grubby little trinkets.
Trinkets! Trinkets!
Yes, trinkets. Trinkets are really all it is. You're just paying for shiny little baubles.
And thingamajigs to give
Baubles,
to
thingamajigs.
to give to someone that you love.
Or hate. Either one.
Yeah, that is true. We did talk about vinegar valentines, and if you don't know what a vinegar valentine is, well, go back to the episode and listen, then come back to this one, and you'll be all caught up. Because it was quite interesting. Talked about why in the fuck do we still celebrate a day of love in the year 2023? Centuries later, why? And Stoney's right. Big Candy and Big Diamond. They're all behind it.
Yep. 100%. They are the only reason why people still probably celebrate it.
I mean, not even just this holiday. All holidays. Any occasion, good or bad. Big
Right.
Candy is there for you.
Yep, Big Candy is always there.
Big ice cream.
I don't know about Big Ice Cream. Big Ice Cream's got my vote still, but Big Candy is where I draw the line.
Big ice creams for either sad, lonely, happy, celebrating. Any days, honestly.
That is true. So today, for episode 20, we are going to be talking about the exact opposite end of the spectrum from Valentine's Day. We're going to be talking about a little bit of rejection.
Womp, womp, womp.
And if you have not experienced rejection, I mean, props to you. Doubtful, because I don't think anyone throughout their entire life can say, "Oh, I've never experienced rejection."
Yeah, you're a fucking liar.
Everybody experiences rejection. It's totally normal. You go through it. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But a lot of the times you lose. And
yeah, you're lying if you say you've never done the rejection or have been rejected. You're fucking lying. And we're going to tell you exactly why, because it's probably not what you think. And then it also is what you think. Just kind of depends on what we're going to talk about. Honestly. It is kind of a vast topic. And I thought, what better way than right after we talked about how people are in love and how people write love letters and how people send vinegar valentines to people that they fucking hate.
Yeah, you suck. People suck.
That was one of the best parts, I think, of last week's episode. Was the vinegar valentine section where, like I said, they talk about writing cards back in the the Victorian era, about how everyone got a card basically, and it was either they loved you or they fucking hated you, and that is a rejection in itself. And like I said, I thought it'd be a good topic to dive on into and kind of explain the good, the bads, and the uglies of something that's so fucking common. Like,
Dive on into it.
yeah, everyone experiences it, and if you haven't, that doesn't make sense. You would have to have the smallest amount of rejection. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, rejection's all around us. I mean, it's not just like in a relationship, which I feel like a lot of people think about that, and they're like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's all rejection is if you try to ask someone out and they say no, or you make an advance and it gets shot down." No, that's not true at all. There's rejection in all facets of life, whether it be
yeah,
work, home, school, personal life. I mean, you can get rejected by your pet even.
yeah. And it's like I said, it's the little. We're gonna get into all the nooks and crannies
Nooks and crannies.
of the concept of rejection, and like I said, how crazy it can get or how normal it can be, and kind of make you guys feel less alone in this rock.
Big blue marble.
Yeah, big blue rock marble floating through space into a void. You know what I mean? But it also, like I said, it kind of depends on who you are as a person, what the scenario is, how do you handle the rejection or doing the rejecting. And yeah, we're gonna get through all those little layers and all the little thoughts or questions you could think of in your head. Um, but I wanted to start out basically doing how we do almost every episode we talk about. We want to give the proper definition of rejection so no one can call us stupid or you learn something if you don't know fucking what rejection is. Well, you're gonna fucking learn today. We're rejecting you right now. So, ta-da, you've been rejected. Can't say you have not ever again. All right, we've laid that baseline down. So, according to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, because that's where we get all of our definitions, because that's the proper English way to learn about things. Rejection is to be unwillingly to grant, accept, do, engage in, or agree to. It can also be to declare not to be true. And the last other definition it can be is to get rid of a useless or unwanted fill in the blank here. To reject, to push away, to deny. There's a bunch of fucking synonyms for it. So if you want to go down a rabbit hole of on a thesaurus, a thesaurus, feel free to, because you'll find a shit ton of synonyms. So we're all, yeah, a bunch of synonyms, but we're all on the same page here. And like Stoney said earlier, it doesn't have to be from people that you are in love with or that love you. It doesn't have to be something that even is involved emotionally with those people. It can be, like Stoney said, a job, services, businesses, and even your pets or animals. It doesn't always have to include a human. You could try to pet your dog, and then your dog is like, I don't want to be petted right now, and then gets off the couch and goes and lays down away from you. And that
You
feeling,
get curved by a dog.
that feeling is so sad when you just sit there for a moment, just being like, all I wanted was for you to come over here so I could rub your belly.
I just wanted to cuddle.
And they are like, no. So yeah, it could be a variety of things. And I want to make that very clear when we're talking about these topics, is like, put this word in any situation and you've been rejected or you've done the rejecting. And if you're someone who's like, I'm a nice guy, I never reject anybody, I've always been rejected, fuck off. Because you're one of the worst types of rejecting people.
Right.
Because you have rejected people whether you think so or not. And if you're that type of person, please don't fucking listen to our podcast. I don't want you as a fan. Don't listen.
Out here picking and choosing fans.
Ending the episode now.
Roll the outro. Roll the outro.
Okay, so for all the people that are not the nice guys, welcome. You guys get to stick around. I'm not rejecting you.
Haha.
You get to be here full of weirdness and love by me.
You get to be
and
granted.
Stoney.
You're granted.
You are granted special
Because rejection
VI
is unwilling to grant, and you are granted. Okay, so the opposite of rejection.
Yeah.
Exception.
VIPP. Very important podcast person. VIPP.
VIPP, huh?
VIPP.
I'm a VIPP.
Oh, I don't fucking know. I don't even know where this is going at this point.
VIPP.
VIPP. Everyone get your VIPP badges. Hold them out.
The PP badge.
The PP badge. Coming soon to merch near you. The Ramblin Podcast PP badge.
The PP badge.
The PP badge. What are you? I'm a very important podcast person. Excuse you. Actually.
Very important PP badge.
Oh god. Okay, so I want to start out by us talking about what it feels like to be rejected. The one that's getting the rejection, the one that is getting told no, that's getting denied, that, okay? And most people's emotions can vary. Like I said, it depends on who you are as a person and how well you can take rejection, or how important the person or item or business or opportunity or whatever it is. Because some people can take rejection really well, but like say they don't get this one important thing in their life, it's gonna hurt a lot worse than like some of the other things getting rejected, right? There's just a whole different layers and levels of what it's like to be rejected. But most people, say you're pursuing somebody you want to date or you're talking to, and you finally get the courage to ask them out, and they just say no. Sorry, no thank you. Or they just are fucking rude and just say absolutely not. Or however they do it, most people feel the first kind of couple emotions people feel will be sadness or the like urge of loneliness. Some people might actually feel good that they're getting rejected on a sense of like, oh well, at least I tried, that type of feeling.
Yeah.
At least I gave it my best shot. And then like some people can get like really, really, really angry. Depending on, like I said, the circumstance of whatever situation. Or that the person's just a batshit crazy Looney Tune who cannot handle anything in their life, so they're crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. It's a big old ball of different emotions.
Yes. So achieving something in life is just amazing, and one of the worst feelings to go through is rejection and disappointment. But when you have faced rejection, it doesn't mean that it's the end of the world. It's always kind of a plan to get up and continue to go. That way you eventually get what you worked so hard for, and that when kind of your goals you're aiming for, right? So that's kind of the two sides of the pendulum that can swing. You can either fall into a pit of despair and think that the world is over and it's just the worst day of your life and it's never going to get any better, or it's just this thing sucks so much. Or it can be the other side where it's like, okay, at least I tried. I'll keep on trying. It didn't go as planned, but that's okay. I'll keep doing what I need to do because at least you want to. Whether it's like I said, pursuing a person and they say no, and you're like, okay, well, there's plenty of fish in the sea. Let's keep going, right? Or like I said, it's a job and you don't get accepted for a job, and then you're like, okay, well, I guess we'll just keep on, applying for other jobs or trying your best, or opportunities, submitting your own like artwork or writings. Like, it's not always going to be yeses. Like it's 10 no's for every one yes. You know what I mean? That's a pretty normal scenario for anyone who's trying to chase their dreams or any of that. Like any major celebrity, athlete, artist, band, whoever you can think of, they've been told more times no than yeses in their lives.
Right.
And they always talk about how they are happy that they got told no so many times because that just made them want to try harder for their other things. Or it like put them down a different path where like I said, when one door closes, another opens, and you're like, oh, I didn't even want to do this in the first place. I'm glad I didn't get accepted for that. Now I'm over here doing something else, you know? It's a weird path in life of how that kind of goes about feeling that rejected though, because it is like you get your hopes up and you feel so like nervous and anxious, and then the moment like no gets told, it's kind of crushing, you know?
Yeah, rejection can really suck. It can be something as simple, with, you know, getting rejected from a job. Like you've been applying for a bunch of jobs and you're trying to find one that you're like, okay, I've got really good confidence about this one. This is the job I'm going to get. Yada, yada, yada. You submit your stuff. You have an interview. You think the interview went great. And then ultimately, you didn't get the job.
I'd
Which,
expect, especially when you think you're like, I think it's a lot harder too when you think you're like overqualified, you know, for
yeah.
certain positions, or you think you can bring a lot to the table. Um,
Oh, yeah. You think you have all these ideas and you're going to help a lot of stuff. And then ultimately just ends up not being anything like you thought.
yeah, it sucks. Like I said, even with like relationships, when you know, fucking, I don't know how many times in my life I've been told, oh, like, or you'll break up with somebody and they're like, oh, like, it's not you, it's me. I just want to be alone. And then like 2 days later, they're with somebody else.
Right.
And you're like, what? And then do you think to yourself at that point, like, did I do something wrong? What is it about me that they didn't like? That they like this person? That person's like, I can't stand that person. You know what I mean? Like, especially when you're like, why would they choose that person? You know what I mean?
Yeah, especially
Um,
when that's something a lot that I feel like more people should probably learn at a younger age because it's something that it'll help you in the long run ultimately because how you handle rejection is more so about you than actually handling it, if that
Very
makes
much
sense.
so. Someone who gets told yes too many times in their lives don't turn out to be very good people.
Yeah, because they don't have any kind of sense of like having to deal with rejection, for instance.
Yeah,
Like,
and I feel like those people also have, I mean, everyone, like I said, is different, but I feel like people who get told yes all the time, and you can quote them as like spoiled brats. Say like we're kids, right? And you have that one kid that just gets every game that they want, every system they want, anything and everything they want on their Christmas list, right? And their parents are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars throughout the years,
right.
right? Uh the spoiled brat-esque, let's just put it in that category. If that spoiled brat is never told no, their meltdowns are like insane. And
Oh
I've
yeah,
witnessed
they
it.
are obnoxious.
It's crazy. I was watching some clips the other day of My Sweet 16, you know, the old MTV show.
Yeah. Oh, that's
Uh,
that's that's a show.
yeah, and watching these kids like throw fits and freak out when like things aren't important or they can't be told no, and it's like they're fucking dictators in their house, you know?
I
Like
wanted
their
a
parents,
Porsche, but you got me a Maserati.
wah! You know, like it's, but like people who get told yes all the time, it's like they're gonna be set up for failure in life. And I'm not saying like you need to be told no all the time, even on an opportunity that you could crush. You know what I mean? It's more of like I said, it needs to be little things. Like I said, you go into your favorite food place and your food that you want happens to be out that day. Ugh, boo. Gotta try something else. That really sucks. You're getting rejected by your own favorite food place, right?
Yeah,
That
that
hurt.
that is
That
a form of
hurts.
rejection because you
That
wanted something
hurts.
and did not get it.
But also, then you have to look at the menu and maybe you'll find something else that is your favorite, right?
Correct.
Like,
Correct. Maybe you'll discover something brand new that you're like, "Whoa, that's really good. This is my new favorite." And then boom, look at that. Rejection solved something and it was for the betterment of your life.
exactly. And I think some of the hard parts is being rejected for things that you can't control. So for example, like I'm a short person. I grew up very small most of my life. And we'd always take trips to like Six Flags. Um, and I was never tall enough to ride the roller coasters, but my friends would, or like my family members would be able to. And I always felt, kind of left out because I'm just like, I'm getting rejected by this measuring stick, yet I know it's for my own safety reasons, right? Like, not gonna say, oh, that's stupid. But it is for safety reasons. I do understand that. But it still, like, sucks. It's like you can't control that you're short, but you're getting rejected for that. It can go from anything. It can go from any disability. It can go from any, based on how you look, any mental health issues that you have, or like I said, anything like that. It sucks getting rejected from, like I said, companies or business or just the stigmas on things kind of sucks, you know? And I think that is also a bad kind of rejection because it makes you feel small and stupid and being like, well, I fucking can't help it. Like, that's stupid and sucks. But then again, on the opposite side of the pendulum, you're like, well, I don't even want to fucking, like, I guess I don't care that much. Like, I'll go find something or somewhere that is accommodating, you know?
That is very true.
And like I said, it's just a weird topic because, like I said, there's both sides of the coin on anything you can think of versus rejection, and it can be bigger, small. So another example for me would be, since Stoney and I do sex work, one of the other parts about this industry, and before I even met Stoney, I was dealing with it, is working with, like, especially in the country and Western community. It's gotten a little bit better, but it's pretty vicious. There's brands that do not want to work with me. There's people who don't want to work with me or even acknowledge my existence because of it, like I'm some horrible person. Um, the community in general thinks it's the Western country community are always like 10 years behind with pretty much everything and anything. That's kind of the rule of thumb. 10 plus years easily. And they view it as such a, like, immoral basis. And that's really hard to be involved with something and, like, love something in the culture so much, but get rejected by the people in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it's something that I had to,
Understand.
kind of learn and understand about because, like, when I came into this, I didn't have the experience like we have now or anything like that, and just like having to see it like even secondhand is like, wow, that's kind of shitty.
It sucks. It sucks. And it's stupid because, like, you think of the wild when people are like, "Oh, I want to be Wild West and punchy, blah blah blah." I'm like, the madams were running the towns in the Wild West. They were the ones that were funding schools and general stores and shops and hospitals. And, like, that right there, we'll get into a whole nother episode down the line of specifically madams in the Wild West and, like, what they did, some really important ones. But I always think that's hilarious, is, like, it was so shined on during the old Wild West times, in the Old West, 1800s, early 1900s, and then it was just a shift in everything else, just kind of demonized sex work, and then
It was a shift in the country, really.
in general, yeah, to where it's just demonizing everything, and then now, still in 2023, people are, holy fuck, so mean and rude, and it's so frustrating because I can only do so much, or I get left out all of the time. And not that you have a sense of FOMO, because it's like, I don't want to work with people who don't want to work with me, right?
Right. Yeah, that's just natural.
But it's still that sense of, like, I mean, I've gotten so much better at it, but I used to all the time, like, question myself, be like, what the, like, I know it's just because of this, but it's like, if it wasn't because of this, I would be doing it, you know? It's literally just because of this one fucking thing, and it's so shitty that it's that one thing that they see in the Western community is just, like, horrendous. Yet, if I didn't do that, I would be right up there with everybody else, and you guys would know my name more commonly, and I'd get involved with different brands and retreats and shit like that. It's, like, stupid. And I also have another kind of side note on that, kind of one of my big, I would say biggest company rejections, in a sense of, like, TV wise, I guess. So I, it was like, I think pre-pandemic, I think. And The Circle on Netflix just got put on TV. And it was like the #1 show trending for like weeks. Everyone was loving that show. It was very well watched. It's like a, reality TV show in a sense. And I applied jokingly to be on their season 2. So long story short, I got chosen for the final round. It was like between me and like one other person to be on season 2 of The Circle, to be like one of the people on the show, which was really cool at that time. Now I look back on it, I'm like, fucking stupid. You know what I mean? And I got to the final rounds, and after like months, not just like a couple days, months of interviews with all the like casting people who are in charge of it, all of the side people who are in charge of it, talking to smaller producers and everything like that. I had my very final interview with like the main head of the producing team or whatever it was at the time, something like that. And I had all of the people like kind of in that group were rooting for me, like being like, oh yeah, you're probably gonna get the like opportunity to do it. You're like, everyone loves you. We're like voting for you. We're cheering for you. So at this point I'm thinking, oh, like I'm probably gonna get, let's say, the part, right? And I'm like, all I gotta do is be myself. And then we get to the conversation of what I do for a living. And mind you, I've gone through like 6 or 7 people already in interviews, and they've all said, oh, it's totally fine. It's not a big deal. Like, we'll just say that you do something else, blah, blah, blah. And I get to that final person, and then immediately the mood shifts, the face changes in the person. Everything just shifts. And they're like, oh, okay. And you could tell they immediately were like, no, and already wrote my name off, And
Yeah, it's a crazy thing. It
and
really is.
it kind of sucked because it was like I said, looking back now, I just giggle and laugh at it. But it sucked at the time because it was like that turned, like, OnlyFans turned into one of the most popular things and became so popular right after that happened. And it was still fairly new, so people were like, oh, you do like porn basically, like, absolutely fucking not. Sorry, we're like, you're not gonna be on our show. So like a week or 2 later, I got like basically my rejection email of like, sorry, we didn't pick you. We went with the other person, but like, best of luck. Feel free to reapply for next season or some shit. And I was like, what the fuck? And at that point, I was so mad because I knew it had nothing to do with me as a person. It was just because my job. That was literally the only reason. And I thought that was just so chaotically stupid and dumb. And like I said, then it goes on to be one of the most popular things and so mainstream, and everyone and their fucking mom does it, and now it's not even a big deal. You know what I mean? For like
Yeah.
TVs and shows and everything. Like, I just find it so fucking chaotic that it's like, you guys could have told me that at the very beginning rather than making me wait months and have that like anxiety of like, okay, I got to start making plans ahead because I'm going to have to be in this place for this time. You know what I mean? Like, it was just so fucking just a mess. But yeah, that was a whole other little fucking side tangent and no. But yeah, when I say rejection is like it's all kinds of things. It does make you feel stupid and small and feel like you're worthless too.
Right.
It can cause your mental health to go ups and downs as well. And that's why I feel like, not saying everyone should be sensitive to it, but like I said, exposed to it, because the more it happens, the less you feel I wouldn't say obligated to feel sad, but the less it affects you.
Yeah.
Like I said, depending on the circumstances or whatever you're shooting for. But like I said, just regular dating rejection from people, you're just like, it doesn't become a big deal. You're eventually just like, all right, whatever. Like, that's fine. Next person.
Yeah, and you just brush it off and chalk it up to, well, that was dumb. All right, on to the next.
Yeah, and it does, like I said, does suck trying to like start over and what's your favorite color? What's your favorite food? 40 million fucking times. It gets annoying, right? But at least you're like getting the experience and what I call technically practice of like how to have proper conversations and flirt. And sometimes you learn like, man, I don't want to fucking ever go through that again or deal with that, right?
You really don't, because it makes it like it makes it easier to accept rejection, but after a while it gets to the point where like if you've been rejected a lot about something, you kind of just get really like not necessarily bitter, but you just kind of are like, okay, I'm over this.
Yeah, and then you also, like I said, the other side is you have the people that like, I don't trust any females. I'm never trusting a man again. You know what I mean? Like you have the two sides that take one thing to heart, and then they're so jaded the rest of their lives, and then they want to treat people like shit once they get in relationships. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's so fucking dumb, right? It's like, why are you so salty over something you're like the new person's not involved in? It's just your own baggage, and you being like, I ain't trust no females. You know, like I don't understand that. It's like I get it. Trust me, like I understand, but I don't get how you can view this brand new person as like, well, since I've been cheated on in every single relationship, this person is already cheating and I'm not even dating them yet.
Yeah, that's just that kind of leads more into I think the trauma side of things though.
Yeah, and that's true. That's true.
Just
But
because like a lot of people get to that point where they almost are afraid of moving on.
I mean,
Like
yeah, and like I
they
said,
stay stuck in that mindset.
I've been cheated on every relationship I've ever been in. So like I get that, but I'm
Lies.
not. I said besides you.
You didn't say
Oh,
besides
okay.
you.
Well, Stoney's never done that.
Yeah,
Never will.
if you come, you better come correct.
But you know what I mean? Like, I've been in that situation. I have been around tons of people that are like, I've been cheated on and everything. So I just don't trust anybody else. And like, all you're doing is hurting yourself. Like, if I would have taken that idea, I would have never met Stoney and found my person. Or I would have never had some other opportunities to actually like talk to other cool people. You know, like it's like if you just sit there and you're just like, no, I'm never trying again. Okay, you're just gonna be stuck there, and you better be okay with being stuck there, and you can't be bitter about it. You know, like
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
you're not
you
allowed to be
really
bitter
can't.
about it
Yeah,
if you're not gonna help yourself to get over, get through, and go forward. Then yeah, you can't be bitter. You can be salty and like know that it's happened, but you still have to like get through it to get to what your main goal is. Like I said, that goes with anything. Relationships, work, jobs, whatever we're talking about, whatever we say here goes with any topic. Um but I also kind of the next kind of little subject area I want to discuss. We're still talking about rejection, don't get me wrong, but I want to talk about what it feels like to do the rejecting. Like, to hurt somebody's feelings, to break someone's heart, to, like, tell somebody they're fired, to tell somebody, like, "Hey, you didn't get the job," to tell somebody, like, just bad news of, like, "Hey, man, they're out of queso. Sorry." You know?
yeah. That's a pretty good analogy.
They're out of queso, and it's, like, all you wanted was fucking queso that day, and they're like, "Hey, I took the last queso. Sorry, man." And then it's just rage.
Rejected.
It's just rage immediately. You're like, motherfucker. They took the last fucking queso. Um, so the side of doing the rejecting. Sometimes it can be scary, depending on the situation and or person, which we'll get into that a little bit later. It can be overwhelmingly filled with like anxiety for like doing the rejecting because like I said, depending on the situation of the person, or you're just like not good at telling people bad news, I guess.
Correct.
Some people it can feel fucking awesome. There's no better feeling than me being in at a concert or bar or just in public, and some like cocky dude comes up and like either asks me to dance or like asks me to buy a drink, and I just say I'll either like make a weird noise or I'll just like I have a whole pocket full of shit I do to get creepy men away from me. Or I'll just be like, fuck off. And there's no like it's so powerful to be like, get the fuck away from me. especially when you've told them no multiple times. But it's very powerful and feels great when you're like, fuck off. And they're like, well, I didn't even want to buy you anything, bitch. And I'm like, okay, you fucking little dick penis man. It's it's quite fun to do that sometimes. And it's great also, I would say, when it's not that big of a deal. Like say it's like a mutual kind of understanding. Or the person takes the rejection really well, you know? Like you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I don't want to be together anymore. And they're like, oh, that's okay. Like we had fun, but I think it's just we just keep on trying. I wish you the best. Mutual endings. That's pretty nice.
Yeah, they're rare, but when they do happen, it is kind of nice because it's like, oh, okay,
You're still friends at that
that's cool.
point,
That
you know?
was,
You're like,
that
neat.
was amicable.
Yeah, it's not, you're like, oh, that person's not a horrible human. You know, you're like, all right, cool. Like, nice. Good to know. My favorite phrase that people use is we can still be friends though.
That's, can we still fuck?
Yeah. Or if it's like not even a sexual thing, they still, you're like, we'd still be friends though. Like, we're still friends.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. But
It never is the same. Like, that's what people don't understand. Like, it's so hard to go back to being just friends after you've dated somebody.
I don't think so.
In my opinion, it is because like
For a lot of people, yeah.
It's hard because like there's there's a lot of things tied into what a relationship is, and whenever
Like I
that
said,
stops being a
it
relationship,
depends on how well that relationship went. Like I said, if it ended horribly, absolutely fucking not. It would be really difficult. If it
Yeah.
ended mutually where you both don't really give a fuck, then like it's way easier and it makes sense. But if it like one ended bad on the other end, then it's a little harder.
I agree. It does make things sometimes can make things very complicated unnecessarily, I feel.
Yes. And speaking of complicated, let's get into kind of the darker side of doing the rejecting.
Ooh.
As a human, it can be extremely dangerous being the person that does the rejecting, especially for women or people who identify as females. But we're pretty much going to, let's just take gender out of it and just say, like I said, individuals doing the rejecting. Some can end up with stalkers who are just completely obsessed, or people who just have obsessions. You can get threats, whether it's emotional harm or physical harm, because these people are in denial and they really cannot take no for an answer. It's just a variety of different reasons of like why doing the rejecting can be very scary. And there's a whole bunch of things. So let's take it from like the female side or female identifying, right? Say you're on a date. I mean, like you can literally look up woman rejecting male. You can literally Google that specific phrase and you're going to find hundreds of police reports and articles talking about how the man basically killed the woman or did something crazy to the woman because of that,
Because of a rejection.
Yeah. And I think that's where it gets really, really, really terrifying and scary. I mean, absolutely insane. So say you, this is why I said fuck the nice guys earlier. This is why I say it, because 95% of them are fucking like this. Not to an extent, it could be either extreme or not, right? Let's just take everything at different levels, like I said. So say this nice guy, we'll call him Rodney. So Rodney decides to text you, hey, and you reply, hey, how are you? And he goes, I've been, wanting to ask you out for a while. Would you like to go on a date with me this day, whatever? And you're like, sure, Rodney, I'll go with you and we'll have a good time. See how things go. Like it's your first time meeting each other. Maybe had a couple little quick, words exchange, nothing crazy. Just for this example, you could say a bunch of things to somebody and it's still not okay. But just for this example, you've only talked for like a tiny, tiny, tiny bit. So you go on your date with Rodney and he's super nice at first. And then the night you can feel at the date starts kind of shifting. And you kind of see that Rodney's not necessarily weird, but a little bit controlling. And he's ordering your food for you and telling you what you can and cannot have at dinner, or kind of controlling the situation of topics that you're talking about. And he's kind of bragging about how nice of a guy he is, and uh how every woman he's tried to be with just can't handle it because they're just so busy with and full of themselves, and women are just stupid sometimes. And Rodney's going on this little tangent while you're at your dinner date, and you start to feel like unsafe. You start getting that like weird gut feeling in your stomach of this guy, something's off about this guy. And Rodney's sitting there, and you have the little code phrase you text your friends so they can call you so you can get out of the date because it's an emergency, or you're just brave enough to kind of be like, okay, and kind of shuffle towards the end of your date. You get through dinner and some weird jokes and his trauma dumping of how horrible other women are. And then he basically is like, okay, so the night's over. And he asks you on another date. And you politely decline and tell Rodney, hey, like, tonight was a decent time. You don't say great, you don't say good, but it doesn't matter what you say, right? You say tonight was like, thank you for the dinner and like at least taking me out and like getting to know you, or just even talking as another human. I appreciate, socializing. But I'll probably have to pass on this date. I just don't think we're the best match for each other. But I think you'll find somebody more like your style. I just don't think you're like that for me. Right? Putting your boundaries out, giving your explanations of like, okay, not really my thing. And Rodney starts having a complete and utter meltdown. He is yelling at you and freaking out and cannot understand why you wouldn't want to be with a nice guy. Could not understand why you wouldn't want to be in a relationship with a guy like him, because he is a dime a dozen and he's the best thing that'll ever happen to you. And you're like, okay, Rodney, I need to leave now. I gotta go. So Rodney offers to drive you home, still angry and full of rage. And you're like, no, Rodney, sorry, that's no, thank you. I'll just take an Uber. And Rodney's sitting there, just baffled and confused. And you get in your car, and he's about to, he's opening your door, and he's closing the door for you. And he's like, okay, well, like, we can still be friends, right? And you kind of giggle and laugh, and you're like, yeah, sure, because you're not dating him. You're just went on a little dinner date as friends, at this point. And you're like, yeah, sure. And he goes, okay, so like, don't forget to text or call me. Like, we're still friends. And you're giggle and laugh a little bit, making lighthearted the situation, and you drive off in your Uber and go home. Well, as you're relaxing in your bed and de-stressing from your entire situation of what just happened and going, wow, okay, I'm glad another bad date, of course, cool. I guess I'll just keep trying. Rodney's at home losing his mind and punching walls like he just drank 7 Monster energy cans. Just going
Energy
ham.
cans.
Yeah, just going ham into his drywall. And he cannot stop thinking about why you wouldn't want to be with such an awesome guy like him. The next day, you're enjoying your just normal day, and Rodney texts you, and you don't really feel like talking to him right now, so you just don't respond. You don't really read the message either. You just kind of see the notification. About 10 minutes later pass, Rodney texts you again. You don't respond. 10 more minutes pass, he texts you again, and then calls you. You don't answer. He keeps calling, he keeps texting, he keeps doing that, and he doesn't answer. Because you're like, why is this dude that I just met or barely know trying to do this? Rodney at this point, in his view, is furious. He's freaking out on the phone. He's leaving you insane voicemails talking about, you're gonna regret this. This is so stupid. Like, we're friends, right? You're being a shitty friend. And you're like, I literally just fucking met you. You're not responded yet. You're just ignoring him at this point, and then you decide to turn your phone off. Well, Rodney can't handle that. Somehow, Rodney has figured out your address and has decided to show up to your house At this point, you are freaking out because you're like, I'm gonna call the police. Do not ever fucking come to my house ever again. This is absolutely ridiculous. You're crazy. Leave me alone. You make it very apparent that no, absolutely not. Rodney does not take that well. It's another form of rejection for him. He can't understand why all these women are just the worst now. He gets in his mind of all women suck, and he's providing the best, and like it's just so stupid. Why would they want to be with someone as awesome as Rodney? So you go to work and you go out your rest of your work week, and you're just trying to live your life and thinking, wow, that was really fucking crazy. And Rodney, you start seeing him from a distance, and you think in your head, oh, maybe I'm just seeing things. But then you start seeing Rodney show up over and over, or you think it's a mere coincidence that he happens to stop by your work to get something, because it's a free country, people can do whatever you want, right? So you start seeing him more and more, and then you realize that, oh my god, Rodney is stalking me, and he is obsessing over me, and he knows where I live, he knows where I work, he basically knows my schedule, he will not stop calling me, he will not stop texting me. This is crazy. So you decide to try to file some police reports with the police, or do whatever you can security measure wise to keep Rodney at bay, and at last to no avail. No one really gives a fuck in this day and age. No one is taking you seriously. Everything is so stupid. You're like, why? I mean, like, this guy won't leave me alone, and it takes months to get restraining orders and different things like that, and it's like he hasn't done any harm to you yet, but he just won't leave you alone. He's basically stalking you. He's cyber stalking you. He's blowing up everything. And eventually, we'll end that story there, and how most stories end with what I just described ends in someone getting hurt, and it's usually the victim in that part. So it is
Yeah, Rodney.
yeah, it's not Rodney, let's just put it that way. I have a little clip here from a source, one of the many, like I said earlier, hundreds of thousands of reports that talk about kind of the situation I just described, right? I have a little article here, like I said, amongst the hundreds of thousands of articles you can Google. This is just a small little snippet of what it's like. But it's hard to basically get an exact number of estranged spouses, girlfriends, people that just went on a date or barely know each other that have been murdered each year by their partner, an ex-partner, somebody they just met. Around 1,400 women have been killed by a man that they knew. And for comparison's sake, that same year, according to this database, 83 women killed their current husbands, ex-husbands, or boyfriends, or people that they know. And as far as murders and slewer slides go, the American Psychology Association, or the APA, reports that 74% of all murder-suicides in the U.S. involve an intimate partner, and 96% are women killed by their partners. So this is just a small number of men killing women that, whether they're their exes, they're a wife, they're a girlfriend, and it also some includes it doesn't even really include people that they don't know, like stalkers or people that get obsessions or anything like that. And I find it absolutely crazy because it happens so often. Like I said, you can Google that and it'll pop up with hundreds of thousands of articles of man kills woman because he was rejected on a date. Man kills woman because he was rejected at his advances. Whether sexual or emotional or blocking the number or anything like that. Like that story is such a common thing, and it's absolutely mind-blowing and bad shit crazy to me, that especially for female women, female identifying, I mean, it can go for both ways with men too. Women can be just as crazy. So for like just us as humans, people who don't take rejection well, it can end deadly for the person that's doing the rejecting, which is why we talked about earlier of how like sometimes it can be fine and dandy, but other times it's so dark and scary, and you kind of have to tread lightly because you don't know, and people are really fucking crazy. And I've been in situations like that where men just do not take no for an answer, and it ends up just bad. Not as bad as it could be, but it ends up just horrendous. And you're just like, what the fuck was that? That's crazy. Like, this person's crazy. You have people that not even necessarily on the like murdering spectrum, but you have people that do not handle the rejection so well. All they would do is insult you, or they go off and tell people how bad you are, crazy you are, or like just
Yeah, there's people that just genuinely can't handle it, and they make it everyone else's problem, because instead of dealing with it themselves, trying to figure out, well, what's going on here so much that I'm the problem in this situation. Because 9 times out of 10, it's not the other party has the issue. It's the person being rejected has either done and or said something that has made somebody uncomfortable or something along those lines. And instead of stopping to self-analyze, they want to act like, oh, well, I did nothing wrong. I'm just, everything's perfect about me. That's them. They're the issue. And
the
then
victim blaming.
yeah, they make themselves a victim.
And I think that's crazy. It really is. Have you ever been in a situation where like you've broken up with a girl, or you told the girl no and she just like loses her ever loving mind, and you're like, what in the actual fuck
Yes.
is going on?
Yes. I have. Not don't really care to talk about it, but yes, it has happened to me in the past before, and it is very, I guess you could say trying is probably the best word. Like, it's very, very, very mind numbing, and it
And
makes you feel like,
exhausting.
yeah, it's like, oh my God, get on with yourself. Like, it's like, yes, I get it. It's something happened where
Stop.
it's over, but fuck off. Like, life will go on. I promise you.
Yeah. Have you ever had one where it was like you only talk to the person for like a day,
Yes. Yes.
and they're just like,
Yes. We are both in this
what the fuck?
modern age of social media and stuff like that. Yes, of course I have done that before. Yeah, it happens, and then you're like, okay, this person's like, just, they won't leave me alone. They're getting to they're borderline annoying at this point, and it's like,
And then they like I said,
okay.
start talking shit on you, and you're like, what the fuck is going? Like, we talked for 12 hours
Yeah, it's like, you
about
don't
normal
even know.
shit.
Yeah, you don't know shit about me.
Yeah, I was like, we were talking about normal stuff. We weren't like flirting really either. You
Right.
know what I mean? And I feel like also in this day and age too, it's so Tinder and Hinge and Grinder and all the hookup sites and dating apps in general and just social media in general are so like, I don't know how many people I've seen on the internet that like post somebody and then like the next day they're with somebody else
Right.
and so on and so on, which is fine. Everyone's allowed to do whatever they want. But like, the thing that I don't understand is like, one, how you gonna look stupid on the timeline, right? That wouldn't most people wouldn't want to be with a person that is like can't. It seems like they can't keep a relationship. Granted, it may not be the person's fault, or it is. You never know, right? Both sides, right? Playing devil's
Yeah.
advocate here, but I don't understand the like that person getting butt hurt every single time.
Yeah, the incessant need to make it back about them. It's
Yeah,
like, why?
narcissists, you know. But I do one of Stoney and I's favorite examples. It's one of our favorite last podcast on the left's episodes. We have a good example of a little situation that we want to talk about. That's like for the woman on female on male violence. If you guys don't know who Jodi Arias is,
Jodi Arias' gaping butthole.
if you don't know who Jodi Arias is, feel free to look her up. She is quite infamous. It was quite a big thing in like 2009, I believe. So Jodi Arias was crazy in love and obsessed with this guy named Travis Alexander. They ended up dating for several months, and I kind of use the term dating lightly. They were together, but on and off, mixed signals, you know what I mean. And then Travis ended up breaking up with her, and started dating other people because, you know, they just weren't meant for each other. So Jodi kind of moves on with her life, or so Travis thinks, while he's trying to talk to the other people. Jodi ends up stalking him. And basically started filling her hate thermometer, basically hate thermometer, her hate meter, with just pure rage. The fact that Travis was dating somebody else and not her. Very common thing to have happen. Eventually, somehow, they got back together for a very short period before the things started getting sideways. Jody was showing up at places Travis would be at and just be like, oh, it's a coincidence. I'm here in town for this. Like, she was making it so lighthearted and seeming like it was. And then she got on his good side again and ended up being friends and then dating again, basically. And then things went super sideways. So how the story goes is like they were supposed to go on this trip together. But at that time they were arguing a bunch and like Travis was not having it. He just kind of had some second thoughts and decided, we're not going to go on this trip. I'm just going to break up with Jody. And then that'd be that. Like we tried again. That's all. So Jody Arias was not having this, like absolutely not having it. So full of her rejection and rage, Jody Arias had a full-blown meltdown, I would say. Freaked out, could not stand that he was breaking up with her, could not stand that he was going to be with somebody else. Jody Arias stabbed him 27 times, slit his throat, and then shot him in the face. And then after doing all that, she tried to make it look like it was a robbery.
Yep. She left him dead in their shower for like
In their
a
shower.
week.
Yeah. And like I said, last podcast on the left does a really good job about going in depth on it, a lot more, and talks about the relationship on it. But like I said, it doesn't always have to be male on female, male on male, female on male. Like it can be any gender for any reason, but you can see how individuals can get to a point where they just are like, yep, okay, I'm gonna fix the problem. Stab, 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 stab. It's fucking crazy. Like it genuinely is. I can wrap my head around how somebody can get that angry, but I cannot wrap my head around how someone will decide to ruin their entire life for one person just because they got rejected.
Yeah, I don't personally understand that either, because it's like you were willing to risk everything for that. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, that was a pretty infamous female on male story. Like I said, you can Google more and do that. But that was another example I kind of wanted to give, is like, even if you're dating for a long time, there's, like I said, wives divorcing men and men killing their wives because they don't want to be divorced, vice versa. First time meeting people, going sideways, talking to somebody for 4 days versus like 4 months. It doesn't matter. It really just depends on the person, the situation, and how it's handled.
Correct.
So on the kind of final tangent I want to talk about to kind of round up the rejection episode is the fact that it doesn't always have to be a partner, like we talked about earlier. It doesn't always have to be a lover or a stalker, really. And it doesn't even have to be boiled down to the gender. It can literally be about just your job or your coworkers or your boss or your environment of your job. For example, would be like whether you got that big promotion and that other person didn't. Maybe that person got the job over you. That anger can drive people to do horrible things. The like jealousy-filled rage can be so overwhelming. It just kind of like says, just kind of depends on the situation you're in. So along with not only partners murdering each other, a lot of people, like I said, I can go back to jobs. You've been working really hard for this job, and Johnny over there actually gets a big promotion because he's the CEO's son or something, right? And you're like, there's tons of movies on it, like Horrible Bosses, for example. That's pretty much a good little kind of a movie and storyline of how like they try to murder each other's bosses for each person. It's quite funny. It's got Charlie Day, Jason Bateman, and Jason Sudeikis in it. And
if you haven't seen that movie by now, where have you been?
Yeah, when it came out a long time ago. But anyways, so somebody gets a promotion, and you don't, you get so fucking mad. You're like, they don't deserve it, blah, 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 blah. And then you probably like go about your day, or you have some like resentment of like this motherfucker and you're annoyed, right? Or you get that promotion and somebody else didn't get that job and they're so fucking mad. They're like, you know what I'm gonna do? You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go either kill the boss, set the whole entire building on fire. For example, an office space where he doesn't get where he gets his stapler gets taken and he decides to burn the whole office building down. It just kind of depends. Like it's pretty much in any situation, and it's fairly prominent too in more like high stakes jobs.
Yeah, like in more competitive jobs.
Yeah, I wouldn't say like maybe like stock market things,
Stock
super
market.
super big businesses, anything that kind of has like a lot of money, or even like I said, I mean it could even be a smaller job that doesn't have many stakes to it. But like I said, it all kind of depends on the person, their emotions, how would they take rejection. People just snap, you know? And that's what's so crazy about it. So another example I wrote down is if you guys, I'm sure a lot of you listening know the story of Yolanda Saldivar and Selena. If you guys don't know who Selena is, who the fuck are you? What are you doing? Come on, get with the program. But if you don't know the story, I'm gonna kind of give you a small little snippet of it. So Yolanda was this crazy, obsessed fan of Selena's. And she would always go to her shows and was always like at different things that Selena would be at. And somehow she eventually got to meet Selena and somehow managed to convince Selena to like let Yolanda be the president of the Selena fan club in a sense. And Selena was like, "Oh my god, that's awesome. That's great. Like, yeah, that sounds like sure. Why not? Like, yes, you always hear, I think you're great." And Yolanda loved that fact that like Selena was treated her the way she wanted to be treated. It was like, "Oh my god, yes, like I get to do this with somebody who I absolutely love. That's my idol. That's my person that I'm obsessed with," right?
Right.
So eventually, I don't know how long it was that Selena was the fan club president before this happened, but this is how the story goes. Like I said, I'm pretty sure. Yolanda ends up getting caught embezzling from Selena and the fan club, and then I think like maybe from actual Selena's business accounts or something. I think it was from the fan club, but either way, she got just caught embezzling, which embezzling is basically taking money from the company and putting it in your own pocket. Selena found out and was so disappointed because that was her friend. You know, her and Yolanda became kind of friends. You know, she's still a crazy fan, but you know, you still kind of had that relationship. Selena was so upset that the crew and her business and everything ended up firing Yolanda, obviously, because like I said, you're embezzling, you're stealing from the company. That's not cool. Yolanda was so distraught and upset and fuck her feelings. Fuck Yolanda. She ended up murdering Selena because she could not handle the rejection or the consequences from her own actions.
Well, if it isn't the consequences of my own actions.
Yeah, literally. So we lost one of the greatest singers of all time, one of the most iconic singers of all time for many, many, many different sounds, especially in cumbia and Tejano music, and just a culture icon. She's worldwide. Because of a crazy fan. Because of a job, basically. You know?
Yep.
People love you so much, they're like, okay, I just want to kill you. That's batshit crazy. So yeah, when I say fuck Yolanda, you say it with all our chest. And I know me and my homies say fuck Yolanda. But yeah, it goes from anywhere and everywhere. It's crazy. It's I can't comprehend acting like that on any situation we talked about today. I can't comprehend being on that side of the pendulum that cannot take rejection.
Right. I'm right there with you. Like it's insane. Like the lengths some people will go to just
Like, there's a
because of
difference
that.
between, like, being angry because someone cheated on you and you feel heartbroken and distrusted and you're like, "Oh, like, what?" Like, and it's shocking. But, like, never in a million years have I been like, I'm going to ruin my life to go do this to make sure that
Right.
person doesn't exist. Like I don't like. There's a difference between like talking shit and like displaying facts and letting people know that they're like a shitty person. Because you know how people like I've seen so many pictures of people like spray painting cheater on the sides of people's houses, or like breaking windshields, or putting, sugar in someone's car, causing drama in their own relationships. Like burning pictures of that person, or lighting all their shit on fire and throwing it in the front yard, the whole white trash. I'm gonna throw
Yeah.
your shit in the front yard type bullshit. You know what I mean? Like I grew up around all that, so like I've seen it firsthand, and I've been through some of it firsthand. But never in my mind have I ever just been like, yeah, I want to ruin that person's entire existence off the face of the earth.
Yeah, that's insane.
Or be so obsessed with it that it's like I couldn't stop, and it just caused too much shit in my life. Does that make sense too?
Yeah, it sure does.
Like where you just can't be like, okay, that happened, I'm moving on. It's gonna take time if it's a long relationship, or it just depends on how the person hurts you, right? It takes time to
Right.
heal from yourself. But just to like let it just consume you in a sense of like, I will never get over this. This is gonna be my one
This is my one personality
quest.
trait.
Yeah, your one quest to complete for the rest of your life.
Yeah,
Just
that's crazy
insane.
to think about.
Yeah, it's insane. But yeah, that's kind of all I have to say about that.
Okay, Forrest.
I don't really have anything else to add. I think we kind of covered some sides, gave some examples, gave some stories, cringy, scary, or otherwise.
Right.
I'm sure you guys can list a bunch of different things, and like endless amounts of shit out there in the world. Like I said, even if it goes down to your favorite food place not having exactly what you want, and you're like, you go cry in your car later that day because that's all you fucking wanted. Been there. Been there, or it's like the saying, like you're like, you crave that one meal and then you drive to it and you realize the place is closed. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's okay. It's okay to cry in those moments.
Hey, big girls don't cry, okay?
Okay, Fergie. But I think that's the end of this episode. Talked quite a bit. I know this was more of a Conway talking episode.
Yeah, you've got more experience, I think, with rejection than I do, in a sense.
Yeah. Not saying that you haven't had any, but
No, I'm just
yeah.
better in every way.
Never been rejected. He's a perfect human.
Perfect alpha.
Nice guy.
Yeah, big ol' nice guy, Patrick Bateman type.
Jesus Christ.
Sure,
So on that note, let's do the secret passcode. Make it a knife.
a knife is fine.
A knife works for me. So if you guys have made it this far in this episode, we really do appreciate you. The secret passcode this week is a knife. So feel free to leave down a knife. Leave down the knife emoji, or send
Leave
it
down
to
a knife.
or send it to our DMs. We like knowing when you guys find the secret passcode. And like I said, in the future, whenever we have Ramblin' Podcast merch, that will be your special passcode to get some free shit or some discounts off. You never know. First one to do it. You never know. You know what I mean?
You know what I
First one to
mean.
grab the code, or here's the discount. We'll figure it out in the future. But for now, it just shows that you guys actually listen all the way through, because I think that's a little fun thing at the end is like, what is it this week? People look forward to it.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that was a good mouth and earful of rejection. And I hope you guys understand how crazy it can get, or how important it is to handle situations to the best of your abilities. And fuck nice guys. Not fuck nice guys, but like fuck nice guys,
Yuck.
Fuck with an extra yuck. Chad Brad the Third. Chad Brad the Third. Fuck off. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yep. I know what you mean.
Hell yeah. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna let you know where we can find you. Stoney, where can we find you? Where can the peeps find
All
you?
the humble homies can find me at Stoney Robbins _ pretty simple. If you want to find me, find me. If not, I don't really give a shit. And where can they find you, Conway Tidith?
Tittith. Well, you guys can find me at conwaytitty.com. That is conwaytitty.com. Has all my shit on there.
All the
if you-
linkages.
all the linkages for everything. But other than that, I think we're good. Come find us on the socials. Give us a little follow. Give us a little shout out that you've been listening. Much appreciated. Be sure to share this podcast with your friends. Share with random strangers when they ask for recommendations. Like these podcasts, and be sure to rate us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, Google Pod, wherever you are listening. Be sure to give us a little rating, little 5-star review, because we are rated 5 stars on your mom's fridge. Your mom loves us, so make sure you do that. It does help it keep kind of everything up, and we're working our way to becoming the real deal, if you know what I mean.
A real podcast.
A real podcast, because this is just, I don't even know what this is. A real podcast. Changing our name from the Ramblin to the Real.
Ew, gross.
Okay, but other than that, I was your host, Conway Titty,
And I was also Conway Titty.
and we are the Titty Dumb.
We
Here.
are the Conway Titties.
The Conway Titties. DDIES. Okay, go ahead and roll the outro. I'll see you guys later. Bye!